Now that we've got the foundation of our products page underway, let's make it look presentable by filling in the content block we started in the last video. When we're done, it'll look something like this. The first thing we need is a full page overlay in order to cover up the body's background image and give this page a white background. Let's add that here at the top and then jump to base.css and add its CSS. It's going to be a 100% height and width div fixed at the top left of the screen with a white background and a z-index of -1 to make sure that it sits behind all the content. I'm putting this in base.css since we'll reuse it in most of the other templates on the site as well, and there are of course other ways to handle this, but this one is probably the simplest. Let's start up the server and make sure that that's working. And that looks good. The core of this page will be a container fluid with 2 rows, one to contain the page title and any currently selected categories, and one for the products themselves. The first row will just contain a single column with a heading using our logo font class that says Products, and a 50% width horizontal rule. We'll add the categories to this later after we set up the proper code in the view. In the meantime, let's create the product container. This will be a single column offset by 1 and itself will be divided into 2 rows. The second row is the one we're going to focus on for now. Inside that row, I'm going to create a simple Django for loop to iterate through the products variable. For each product, I want to generate a column, inside which will be a bootstrap card. Products will stack on mobile, be side by side on small and medium screens, split into 3 columns on large, and 4 columns on extra large. The code for the card layout here again comes from the Bootstrap documentation and is pretty easy to understand, so I'll paste that in here and go through it line by line. The card is divided into a top, which contains our product image, a body which will contain the product name, and a footer containing the price and rating. The image portion of the card uses an if statement that renders the product image using the image field's URL attribute if an image exists, or the default image from the media folder otherwise. The card body is just a paragraph with the product's name, and the card footer contains a row and a column which will envelop the product price and rating if one exists. We'll add a few more details to this later on, but this is going to make things look a lot better, so let's save that and take a look. Now this looks pretty good, but we're going to make it even better using a little Django template magic. I want to create a full width horizontal rule after each row of products, but since the product cards are all columns inside a single row, the number of products in each row will change depending on the screen size. We could accomplish what we wanted though if, for example, we knew that there were 4 columns on the screen, and thus every 5th column we'd render a full width column, in other words a col 12. If there were 3 products in each row, then we'd want to render the full width column every 4th column, every 3rd column when there are 2 products, and every other column when the products are stacked one by one. Let's start with the simplest situation. On mobile, products will be stacked on top of each other, so if we want a full width horizontal rule, then we need to render it after every single product. The problem with this will be obvious if we take a look at the site now. Since we're rendering a full width column, it pushes all the products to the next row on all screens. We can fix that by using the display small none class, which will prevent this column from rendering on everything except extra small screens. That presents another problem though, because now we don't have the horizontal rule on small or medium screens where there are 2 products in each row. I'll add another column which will be display none by default to keep it hidden on extra small screens, and display block on small screens and larger. Now we're back to the same problem we had before with the extra column rendering on every iteration of the loop, and it will render on screens where there are more than 2 products in a row also. The solution here is that we need to render this column on small and medium screens only when the iteration number of the loop is divisible by 2, because there will be 2 6-column products in each row. So every set of 2 products, because that'll add up to 12 columns, that's where we want to render the extra one. I'll accomplish this by using a couple of built-in Django template tags in an if statement. Let's say if forLoop.counter is divisible by 2, then we want to render this column, and it'll be visible only on small and medium screens, so we'll use display small block, display medium block, and display large none to hide it on large and up. On large screens we need to do the same, but there will be 3 products in each row, so let's use divisible by 3, hiding it on everything except large. And finally, let's handle extra large screens, which will have 4 products in each row, so we'll want to render this extra one every 4 columns. I'm also going to wrap the extra small horizontal rule in a similar if statement, just to be explicit about what we're doing, though obviously this isn't necessary since the counter will always be divisible by 1. Let's also add a bit of bottom margin after each one of these horizontal rules. And if this made your head spin, don't worry, it took me quite a while myself to figure out how to get it working right, but go back and rewatch this portion of the video at some point and make sure you understand it, because this kind of outside the box thinking is what will set you apart as a developer. With that all finished, let's take a final look at the products page. And everything looks good at this point, so I'm going to commit my changes. And in the next video, we'll build the product details page.